What happened with the Poppy Playtime devs? Oh, yeah, I was gonna look that up, I forgot. Someone wanted me to check it out. The shady history of the Poppy Playtime. Yeah, so I do vaguely know what happened. So I'm sure it'll be covered in the video, but we'll check this out. It is kind of interesting. The Poppy Playtime devs have been accused of stealing someone else's, like, premise. They stole, apparently, like, the whole idea of Poppy Playtime. Then they also found themselves in deeper controversy when they talked about, like, doing NFTs for it, but, like, core NFTs, as in, like, the game wouldn't function without the NFTs or some shit like that. I don't remember now. But the big one was about them plagiarizing or just outright stealing something like that. Let's check it out.
Special thanks to YouTubers Poseidon and Artemation for helping me with the research of this video. They will be linked below. 2015 was an interesting time. We saw the rise of many creations breaking into internet conscious and sometimes even the mainstream. No matter where you looked, you couldn't get away from media around games such as Minecraft or Five Nights at Freddy's. These two games, especially Minecraft, have solidified their place in pop culture and with the media that we all consume today. An obvious and undeniable part of what started to make these pieces of entertainment grab a wider range of people and become more accessible was fan-created content. This range being anything from the simple and common Let's Play to some more analytical videos discussing various findings in the games themselves.
Yeah, MatPat's whole channel was basically based around it.
Of the game operate. You can argue that some pieces of content may objectively be easier or harder to produce than others, but generally speaking, I think all this content serves a purpose one way or another. One contribution to fan-created video content about certain franchises I think is heavily underspoken about while in these discussions is animated content. Undeniably, some of the most high-effort and hard-to-produce content is animation.
True.
Both Minecraft and Five Nights at Freddy's have had their fair share of animations since their inception to now, with no sight of them going away.
Minecrafts, though, were always the weirdest. Anyone remember the early days of Minecraft animations? They used to have... Fuck, what was the series called? Ah, Futuristic Hub. Yeah, Futuristic Hub, thank you. That has a wild story behind it. That channel, like, the person behind that channel was a maniac. Like, they would constantly get into fucking fights, threaten people and shit like that. Yeah, oh man, that was weird. Are they still around? Does Future Hub still pump out, like, Minecraft double Ds and all that? Like, Minecraft tits, whatever? Oh yeah, they're still around. Doesn't look like they do sexual stuff anymore, though. Or maybe they do, I don't really know. At least I think it was Futuristic Hub that used to make sexual Minecraft stuff. Yeah, I don't feel like strolling anymore. It was? Okay.
Are strong in their own right, having so much depth to them that they can be considered full sub-communities to the main one. We've seen many animators come and go from these communities. Some rose, some fell.
Oh, they did. One of them was the owner of the channel fucking a creeper. I vaguely remember that. I mainly remember the Futuristic Hub, like, actual person behind it just melting down on Twitter. Like, constantly getting into arguments and shit. I don't remember him having sex with a creeper in, like, a self-published animation or whatever. I just remember that they did sexual animations, and the guy was really mean to everybody, and, like, super, super aggressive.
And some... Yeah, let's not talk about that one. But
oh, hey, just brought it up.
Animation content for these two games are very important to the history and development of these properties. Of course, with the growth of these two games, over time, more professional people in the business would start to see this as an opportunity. The concept of YouTube animation companies is not a new thing. We have seen many pop up over the years, one of them even becoming a titan of the entire animation industry, as well as one of the newest, most subscribed channels. It's no surprise that a medium like this would be as lucrative as it is. And with many having the opportunity to rise alongside the franchises you make videos about, it's no surprise that some people would find combining these two together would lead to success. This was the exact thought of Seth Belanger, who seemed to strike gold with his animation Survive the Night, based off the FNAF fan song of the same name. Today, the video is sitting at an unbelievable 61 million views, bringing the channel to great YouTube fame for the next coming years.
Nice.
Little did Seth know at the time that he and his brother, Zachary Belanger, more on him later, would go on to turn this channel into an entire studio of creators making consistent, high-quality animations for a target demographic of 8 to 13-year-olds to enjoy. Unfortunately, there are a lot of details that I am leaving out of this seemingly humble origin story. As time went on, greed, allegations of plagiarism, bullying, poor workplace conditions, and much more would start to be the legacy that older fans would start to remember Enchantedmob, as well as their joint studio, Examination 4. Enchantedmob...
I haven't heard of either one of those. Hold on, let me look them up real quick. 3 million subs? That's pretty big. They kind of pop off. Very active, and the other one was Xanimation. Whew. And this is kids content, which means it's getting those premium ads. 133 million views on that bad boy. Zam indeed. I mean, it's not made for me, so I can't exactly be upset about it, but gotta respect that hustle. Jesus Christ.
Examination and their game studio, Mob Games, have an infamously shady past that they will try to desperately put a front up and pretend that none of it exists. But to understand what led up to this change, how did Enchantedmob and Examination get their start?
Kind of mighty.
Enchantedmob was a channel founded in early 2014 by brothers Seth and Zach Belanger. Judging on what time this video goes up, they may have just had their 8th anniversary. The channel would stay inactive for 2 months after its creation, eventually having a welcome video uploaded, which definitely has probably seen better days.
Hey!
Since this, the channel
I used to
would
have an
upload
intro video
consistently, uploading videos that would range from 1.5 to 8 seconds. Just 16 videos into the channel.
Intro videos used to be the shit in YouTube. Does anyone remember my old intro videos? It wasn't like in my first ones. When the fuck did I put... I spent a lot of time on this intro. It's not gonna look like I did, but I honestly spent days on it. Oh, here it is. Making that do that was so hard for me. I could have gone pro with editing, honestly, if I just stuck with it. I used Sony Vegas for that. Did you know Sony Vegas was capable of something like that? I pushed it to its very limits. I made that background, I made that text Times New Roman, and then I made it move and shit.
Discography, they would find massive success with their first full-length music video, done to the, at the time, fan-favorite Five Nights at Freddy's fan song, Survive the Night, which has almost doubled the amount of views of the original upload. Since then, they would follow up with many more successful FNAF animations of other songs about the game. It seems that
no one ever found the old videos.
fitting
I knew it'd be
content
impossible.
creation with these Five Nights at Freddy's
Thanks to
related
resub Young Day.
animations. They would drastically grow since the release of Survive the Night. This success from the FNAF community would become even more apparent as any video derivative from Five Nights would get a pitiful amount of views compared to the tens of millions their FNAF uploads would get. With one of the only exceptions being their original work Be a Hero, which sits at 1.1 million views today. Other original works would find themselves in the millions down the line too. But even so, it was still a fraction of what they would accumulate through animations relating to
It's just
FNAF.
hair. I just get little hairs in my mouth.
Survive the Night, Enchantedmob would open their first
One of the most
division,
annoying things
being
about having
Create
long
Display.
hair.
This channel became to be run by seemingly 2 workers under Enchantedmob, creating other FNAF content, as well as some animations on other games occasionally. You may know them because of this legendary thumbnail. Now the channel is mainly used for uploading clips of a certain series I will get to very shortly. Anyway, while in this time, the original channel would surpass themselves once more, with the release of an animation done to the famous JT Music song Join Us for a Bite, which would surpass Survive the Night double its view count, sitting at an astronomical 132 million views today. If it wasn't clear by now, it's fairly obvious that the studio has found their cash cow. Since this upload, you can see a major jump in production quality, as this arguably put them on the map for better talent even more than Survive the Night did. Although 132 million is a nigh groundbreaking number for any YouTube channel, studio or not, in just another 2 years, Enchantedmob would surpass themselves once more with their upload Build Our Machine. This time instead of FNAF, they would tackle Bendy at the height of its popularity.
What?
Although they would see success with these Bendy—
What the fuck is Bendy? Seems like anything that ends in a Y pops off. Bendy, Freddy, Baldi's Basics, all that shit. Slindy. I don't remember this game at all. I don't think I ever saw this one. Holy shit. Yep, I completely missed that wave.
The animations, as well as some Undertale ones. The ones that would undeniably stick the most are the FNAF animations. Sometime in the making of these music videos, Enchantedmob seemingly wanted to branch out more. So on the 15th of February of last year, Enchantedmob would create their ongoing series that they are most known for today, Fazbear and Friends. Except, not really. You see, the first 2 episodes of Fazbear and Friends were actually uploaded to the Examination channel, which as mentioned before, merged with Enchantedmob sometime in 2020 for not public reasons. There's not much to talk about when it comes to the early life of Examination. They started off with fairly good success for making creations that were based off of YouTube channels that were popular at the time, majorly picking up steam about 3 years ago. Somewhere down the line, this got the attention of Enchantedmob, and the studios had agreed to do a business decision to merge.
Yeah, they look like the same logo.
Being an objectively good idea for the two studios.
Nice.
The current state of Enchantedmob examination has brought the studios to great success. Every episode of Fazbear and Friends, as well as other full-length videos, all surpass 1 million views, usually being in a 2 to 3 million
Hey, Squid Game!
However, long-term fans have discussed their resentment towards modern Enchantedmob.
I
remember watching Enchantedmob growing up. Sad to see what's happened to them nowadays. I used to watch Enchantedmob when I was younger. Sad to see them go down this path. It's very funny how the creators of Poppy Playtime have a YouTube channel dedicated to Minecraft FNAF animations for kids. But it really comes to the question, what makes Enchantedmob different in the eyes of its older audience now than when they were younger? The most obvious reason is just a lot of them have simply grew up. Survive the Night is more than 6
aging
years
is
old
cringe.
now. It would be obvious to say that a lot of people introduced to the channel would have a more refined taste outside of Minecraft FNAF animations as they got older. It's just a part of growing up.
I think you'd be surprised.
But even so, as you grow up, you can sometimes look back to things like this and have fond memories of it. What makes Enchantedmob different, and why is their name infamous to a big portion of its older audience nowadays? The first piece of controversy the duo have seemed to have gotten themselves into was the creation of a joint channel. Animation Sins was created on October 2nd of 2017. The channel is made up of a group who makes Cinema Sins parody videos, usually on small animators. The channel's original idea was to give constructive criticism towards animators, while having satirical criticisms for entertainment. Although this concept seems like a fun one, the channel ultimately fell ill to the same blurred lines of what is genuine criticism and what is satirical, just like modern-day cinema.
That sounds like a horrible idea. You can see an obvious
bias between videos criticized from their own studio to videos criticized by other animators. The channel has remained stagnant for over a year now, so I think the studios have realized this. One reason as to why Enchantedmob may have been starting to take a controversial path is because around this time, Zach Balancher really started to be involved in the managing of Enchantedmob. And ever since, Seth's channel would start to head down the path.
Alright, I don't know why you keep comparing it to CinemaSins. CinemaSins critiques big movies, like major movies, not individuals. Like, from what I understand, Animator Sins goes for the small Minecraft animators. Those are kids. Those are literal children making the animations. And to just, like, bully them and shit on them, that's super different than a major movie. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, it's very, very different. It's a way to take them out early. Yeah, it weeds out competition. That way the kids never get better. Oh, pivot animation. There's something I haven't heard in years.
Zach's involvement has been discussed mostly negatively by many people. Not because he turned the channel into a company, but just because he was a bad manager. Allegations of poor workplace treatment and manipulation start to run rampant in the discussion of the two studios. A comment from a very important video, more on that in a second, stated presumably Zach, as well as other higher-ups in the studio, would fire anyone who questioned their work schedule or asked for a pay raise. This led to many animators to quit, and a few came out about their experiences after leaving the team. But you might have noticed I said this comment was left on a video of greater importance, and I think it's time to discuss that. This comment was left on a video of the Minecraft animator Eckercoaster, who has a less than savory past with Enchantedmob examination. Eckercoaster's channel was created on the 2nd of June 2016. He would seemingly stay reserved to his own animations up until he got the attention of Enchantedmob back in the start of 2018. During this time, Zach tried to convince Eckercoaster, who we'll be referring to as Ethan going forward, to join 3.8 Display among other things. Ethan ultimately refused the proposal, and tensions between him and Enchantedmob started to ring up. There is hearsay, as well as undeniable proof of these people talking about him behind his back about their opinions on his lack of skill, and how he won't make it anywhere if he doesn't join the company. This stuff would not-
Wait, what? What a fucking weirdo. What? Okay. This Zach guy's not looking too cool.
Make it anywhere if he doesn't join the company. This stuff would not look good on its own, but although these people could be seen as rude and somewhat manipulative, I personally don't think they've done much yet to be considered genuinely malicious. Obviously, my opinion on the subject matter was nowhere near mutual to how Ethan felt about their words at the time. Zach would continue to converse with Eckercoaster, getting into an argument with Zach accusing Ethan of stealing their intro. Because Eckercoaster's outro music was used years before the use of it in Build Our Machine, it's still not very clear if Zach was just joking here. He makes little to no effort to backpedal on saying if it was a joke or not. The only explanations here are if it's not a joke, then either Zach is just not too bright and he genuinely believes that Eckercoaster stole his outro.
Did you hear about Distortion's run he just finished?
He knows exactly what he's doing and is just
I know he got
trying
the
to
sub
get a rise out of
19.
Ethan. But I digress. I do believe that it's the latter of the two options though. and you'll see why. Going forward, Zach and Seth would ignore Ecker Coaster's wishes to not have their videos be featured on Animation Sins. Although this makes Ethan sound like he just doesn't want criticism, we have established that a lot of criticisms Animation Sins gives out are not necessarily helpful. And apparently from Ethan's perspective, it only helped contribute to harassment towards him. This would all accumulate to a document released on the 17th of July 2020, compiling all the ways he believed Enchantedmob and Examination have wronged him in the past. Most of his gripes were targeted towards Zach B, and that is all that I listed
rune
off
level
here
1
throughout
run.
this discussion.
I saw him doing those earlier. I didn't get to
Ever
catch a
since
full
the
run, though.
altercations of yesteryear, the studio and Ethan have been doing their own separate things. But during this time, both the team and himself have been working on two very big projects. Ecker Coaster had been working on the first act of his game, Venge, a FNAF and Bendy-inspired horror game that would have multiple chapters released. The game stayed fairly underground after its release, not really getting the attention of Let's Players or really any sort of big traction at all. The game would stay stagnant after the release of the first chapter, presumably Ethan working on more content for the game in the future. But around October of 2020, Enchantedmob and Examination came together to form the company Mob Games, a developer subsidiary of Enchantedmob, which would release their first game a year later.
You said Peter and Casco? Okay, so now we have a little background on the team.
The relationship
seem a little
between
weird.
it and Venge has been extremely rocky. Since we have already established the animosity the two creators have against each other, it's safe to say when Ethan started to see similarities between his game and Playtime, he would speak up about it. Ecker Coaster accused Mob Games of stealing many story beats and ideas for assets from Venge to put
This
into
is
Poppy
what I
Playtime.
saw.
He points out that although the concept of exploring an abandoned building isn't new, the way that Poppy Playtime went around doing it is very similar to a lot of things Venge did in Ethan's eyes. His biggest note is the similarities between the descriptions of the games, as he specifically notes the idea of—
Oops, sorry, I wanted to read that. It doesn't really sound that similar. That doesn't sound similar, like, at all, really. It's just a very generic concept. Huh. Alright, can't say I totally agree with that.
Descriptions of the games, as he specifically notes the idea of an entertainment company miraculously disappearing to be a very common trait between the two plots of the games. He also gives examples of character designs and decors that look eerily similar to what you can find in
Now
Venge.
that's a lot more
Judging by the
convincing.
past that these two have, it would be safe to say that this could be more than a coincidence. When this thread was published, many people came into support of Ecker Coaster, many agreeing that a lot of what's been compared seems like blatant plagiarism. There were also a lot of others who were a bit more skeptical about it, stating that both games take heavy beats off of Bendy and the Ink Machine. Although a lot of assets and the plot of Venge can be heavily compared if not be seen as nearly identical to that of Poppy Playtime, something that I feel a lot of people fail to bring up in the discussion of this is Ethan's inspiration off of Bendy. A chapter-by-chapter release, companies that were on top of their respective industries falling out of nowhere, and something that is prevalent in all of these games, character and monster designs that try to cater to the demographic of children by playing into the innocent things turns evil trope that FNAF heavily popularized. Do I think Poppy Playtime saw Venge and decided to copy it out of spite? No. Do I think Mob Games saw things from Bendy and Venge and decided to copy it out of sheer laziness? Yes. The Belanger and Preciado brothers may be malicious,
I agree with that.
but something that I think a lot of people fail to mention is that the staff of Mob Games are probably not that
I
bad
mean,
at
there's
people.
nothing really creative about Poppy other than its gameplay. It's just all generic. Like, it's all super simple. I disagree. From what I read on Twitter, it was like a lot more cut and dry. Like, yeah, it looks like they really did steal this dude's game, but here it's like, oh no, it seems like it's just kind of generic.
Much like every other big project, the people actually creating
I thought the gameplay was borrowed
from
that
are usually
guy's
just
game,
given what the
which it doesn't
creative
seem like it
director
is.
gives them. It's the creative decisions that I, and a lot of other people, seem to have a problem with. And for me, these problems outweigh the plagiarism allegations. Poppy Playtime simply has the problem of being a greedy, pandering mess. You have this $5 entry to what is basically a 30-minute tech demo that you can beat in an even shorter amount of time.
See, that's a good
This
complaint.
obviously may not be a shock to most, though. Ever since the inception of these channels, it was obvious that they wanted to entertain children. This isn't the case of a content creator, or in this case, a studio, changing their content to be more brand-friendly. Enchantedmob and Examination have always been Minecraft Center animation channels. obviously having an overwhelming majority viewer base of children to preteens. This I honestly feel is fine.
Jalapeno?
Something that I feel I mistakenly left out in my horror games for kids video, which precedes this one, is that obviously, making content skewed towards a younger audience is completely fine. Where I and many others start to have a problem is either if these studios or individuals start to pretend as if their piece of entertainment is not meant for this audience. And not even in the it's for kids, but kids don't like being treated like kids, so we'll make it more adult kind of way. Poppy Playtime the game seems like it's trying to be a horror game not meant for children, but everything else around the game is trying desperately to pull in fans as young as 4 years old. This obviously is a smart tactic to do. If you try to cater to every age demographic at once, you will ultimately have a lot more people checking out your product, meaning the absolute most people willing to view it.
Smart.
But as we have seen time and time again, executing this just right is harder than a lot of people think. And soon enough, your audience is going to move on to the next game that does the exact same thing. Because after a while of trying to cater to everyone, you end up catering to no one.
Yeah, but the game still did extremely well. I'm a little confused on what the controversy is now after having watched this. So it seems like the people behind it are pretty, I wouldn't even say shady. Like, they haven't even really done anything wrong other than a couple of accusations about workplace culture, which may or may not be true. I haven't read it. But other than that, like right now I'm walking away from this being like, oh, I guess all that Poppy Playtime drama was a fucking nothing burger. Except for the NFTs, which he hasn't mentioned yet, but he might. The NFTs, I think, is a pretty indefensible point. And $5 for a 30-minute game is a bit greedy, agreed. But I really don't buy the whole plagiarism thing anymore. It's just I thought they, like, ripped the gameplay from someone else, because that was the most unique part about Poppy, was, like, the little sticky hands going around just, like, fucking slapping shit. I thought they, like, stole that from another game, stole the story, stole everything. But it seems like the only thing it has in common is both of those games took place with, like, toys gone bad, which is super generic.
So, what's the take of this video? Boycott Poppy Playtime / Enchantedmob? Defend Ecker Coaster with all our life? Go around trying to spread the word to as many people as possible? Honestly, I don't really think we need to do any of those things. Enchantedmob has had a very rough history, especially in its later years. But even though undeniably Zach Belanger at the very least may be a bad person, I have superstitions that the backlash they have been getting, way even before this video, will be more than enough to skew people away from supporting mob games. There is a lot of other things that these studios have gotten into controversy for, like there's sometimes very weirdly sexual animations that remind you are meant to be for a child audience, or most famously, their controversy for the Poppy Playtime NFTs.
Yeah!
These are also very big reasons to not like these
NFTs!
people, and I originally had a whole section written about why NFTs are bad, but honestly, I don't really think I need to give you guys that discussion. Neither do I think it's really the appropriate place to have it. Hence why they couldn't really be fit to the greater point that I was trying to make. What I can say, though, is that NFTs are just another example of Poppy Playtime meaning to just be another cash grab game with no long-staying integrity. When or if all the chapters do release, the game will fall into complete irrelevancy, with possible talks of a sequel, but probably never going anywhere. With the first trailer to Chapter 2 being shown just days before this video, here's hoping that the series may be able to turn around after Chapter 1. What was shown off looks at least a little more dynamic than the first 30 minutes we were originally given, but I am also not going to hold my breath. But anyways, I have been Dags, and until next time, see ya.
Yeah, I don't really know what the takeaway is. All this did was show me that the whole plagiarism thing was unfounded. Okay. I can't look at James Corden, I'm sorry. That was a good history of the whole company and everything, though. I didn't know anything about the people behind it. They do seem a little odd. But the game itself now, I don't believe in the whole plagiarism thing.